Okay, that seems to be working now. Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with life coach Linda Armstrong, and this is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today, and it's the last day of our recording week here, and yesterday was Thanksgiving on the day that we're recording this, so that was the day that our Rampage of Thanksgiving show was put out, and we got some nice feedback on it. I just wanted to share that feedback because it was really nice for her to write in. This is Deborah once again. She's been writing in a lot. And she wrote to say, well, you really rocked that gratitude rampage. Wow, loved it all. And then she also shared a few things. She says, a few thoughts. As Otto the dog and I sat and enjoyed it as the dawn broke, things really started to ramp up and connect for me. In May of 2017, listening to people such as Pam Grout, a huge proponent of the art of appreciation, as you'll know. And I found myself so often in states of entirely unconditional happiness and appreciation. However, there are still a part of me that felt that the gratitude message was a little forced and insubstantial. So recently I've come to the realization that, in fact, it's one of the two unremitting, steadfast pillars I can always turn to: trust and gratitude/appreciation. Gratitude is powerful, not fluffy and saccharine, as I once thought. It's a force field. And as Abraham says, they would rather see us in a state of appreciation than meditation. That says a lot. Hope you and all the crew had a splendid Thanksgiving. Thank you for this gorgeous gift of genuine gratitude in which to bask. What a beautiful start to the day. How's that for an interesting email? Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
Okay. And I can sympathize with what she's saying. I mean, because I've experienced that myself. You know, it's easy to be, who's it? I can't remember which author it is. Oh, I think it was, I think we referred to it on Wednesday. Gary Zukav, I believe, is the one who talked about intentions that are either, what are the words? They mean truly intentful and kind of surface, but I can't remember what the two words are. And it's easy to get into that surface mode, you know, where, oh yeah, I'm grateful, sure, okay.
Yeah.
Without really getting into the feeling of it, because the feeling of it makes a really big difference. I think that's kind of what she was talking about there.
Yeah. But I would bet that as you add more and more of them, even if you feel like you're forcing it because it's like something that's good to do, but as you keep doing it, you'll probably find you'll bring yourself up into that vibration to where then you can feel what it is you're actually stating.
If you do it long enough, yes. Yeah, the only risk, well, it's not really a risk, but the only challenge perhaps is you do it just a little bit, and then the next day you just do it a little bit, and so you never really get the momentum going because you aren't really staying with it long enough. But you're right, if you stay with it, yeah, it's just going to keep building and building and building.
I mean, it's like the rampage of appreciation. Even if you ever just listen to Abraham doing it, by the end you feel totally different than you did in the beginning because the energy builds.
Yeah.
You actually start getting into and up into that vibration, you know, as the statements are being made.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So another reason, another argument in favor of perseverance. You persevere, you stick to it, and it pays off.
Yeah. But I think also the intention is even enough, because some people don't even realize if they're some people don't even realize if they're feeling the intention when they actually might be, because they don't know how to kind of gauge what the feeling is.
Okay.
Say someone just coming to all this and they're like, you should be grateful and you should, you know, whatever. And they're like, oh, that's a good idea. And they can do it, and they'll maybe say a few things, and their intention is, yeah, I'm grateful for those things. They may not realize that they're actually holding a vibration of it. They might in their mind think, well, I'm just saying words, and not just like when you thought you couldn't feel energy. You always feel energy.
I suppose the way to look at that then is it's possible for us to feel something, but we've kind of cut ourselves off from it. So on a sort of a soul level or a subconscious level, we're feeling it, but consciously we're just not aware of it.
Yeah. So I kind of would have said that in the reverse, but I think it's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And that the intention, what I'm trying to say is the intention is I feel like the intention is enough. Of course, we want to get into that vibrational place, but I'm saying that because some people maybe don't realize the nuances or the differences between their energies to actually know what it feels like to be in gratitude or appreciation on the fly.
Mm, yeah. Well, it does take some practice, that's for sure. Getting used to like being aware of it, noticing it, paying attention and feeling it, and realizing perhaps you weren't feeling it and didn't realize what you were feeling. That part I can certainly
Well,
um,
we could send
relate
intention
to.
out into the universe and not know exactly what the thing we're intending for feels like, but we have an idea of what it feels like, and so that's the vibration we're holding. You know what I mean? So I might say, so maybe my one of the things I want to create in my life is walking on the moon. Now I don't know what that feels like to walk on the moon,
Fair
but
enough.
I could have the intention of doing it and hold that intention strong enough that it comes, because I'm intending that that will be my reality, even though I don't exactly know what that vibration is. But I know that I'll be grateful that I actually achieved it, whatever that feels like. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, certainly Neil
It's
Armstrong and Buzz
possible,
Aldrin felt that way. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been there. They got to the moon. They got to actually experience it, but they
right?
thought about it
But
before they got there.
they thought about it before they got there. But did they know exactly what they were going to be feeling in the moment when they got? You're going to feel the excitement of it, the achievement of it. So I'm trying to make it easy for people, because you said this is going out to people who are new to all of this, right?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
some people might be saying, yeah, but I am grateful for my family, and not realize if they're feeling like a really heartfelt gratitude for it, but they're still grateful for it. But they may not in the moment be feeling what they can conceive to be the gratitude of it.
Hmm. Okay.
So I don't know how else to say that. Maybe it makes no sense at all.
Well, I think what it shows is that there are different ways of looking at the same thing. I mean, you just
It does.
described the way that works for you, and
Right,
the
right,
way I
right.
thought about it is the way I work for me, and it almost doesn't matter how
Well,
you get
I
there.
mean, the way it works for me is to actually feel it, because I like to feel it. But for people who don't understand what that might be, I'm trying to give them an
Mhm.
understanding. Just put the intention out. You'll get there on the feeling sense of it.
Yeah, I think it may
Yeah,
take time, but you'll get there one way or
yeah,
another.
yeah,
Yeah. Because as
yeah.
we know, it all comes down to how resistant are we, and how long or how short of a time is it going to take for us to let go of our resistance, to let go of whatever it is that we're saying. Oh, yeah, I
Right.
don't really feel it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that's what I do all the time. Like, and people might still have the feeling of what it's going to be like and the joy they're going to have, but there could be resistance in the way, right? That's what I clear out,
Mm,
the resistance. And
hmm.
so if there was no resistance, well, then it would just be here, right? So obviously
Right.
there's going to be some resistance.
Yeah, we're good at resisting. We have a lot of practice at it, and we've become quite the masters. Actually, if we gave ourselves credit for that, we'd probably be master conscious creators a lot faster too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But the intention and holding that intention will get you there. So,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
you know what?
Okay.
So if it is something you don't know how to, if it's meant to be, you're going to find someone who can help you release the resistance, or something's going to happen in your life that busts that resistance open so that you're still moving forward on that path.
That's true, and it usually comes in a way that you least expect it, like kind of out of the blue, and you don't have any defenses up, is what I'm trying to say. So it comes through easily because you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
aren't defending against it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
But resistance is a sneaky little thing. Sometimes we really don't see it until someone else even points it out.
Oh yeah, well, that actually haunted me at my early stages of learning how all this stuff worked. Because when I first was trying to manifest stuff and keep my focus and so forth, I wasn't yet aware of the concept of resistance and blocks and how that would work. And so when I first found out about it, I felt immediately defeated, to be perfectly honest. Like, oh no, I gotta monitor all those thoughts and feelings. That's way more than I can do. I mean, literally, I was just defeated before I even got started. But over time, as I just kind of stuck with it and just kept coming back to it, yeah, little chinks in the armor kind of opened up, And then
Yeah,
every once in a while, I would meet you at some point. I met you a few years ago, and you started helping me to experience and connect to energy in a way that I never connected to it before, and I wasn't expecting that. I mean, when you first came on, I was just looking for another co-host who knew law of attraction. Then you start going, leading me through guided meditations and energy
Yeah.
sessions and so forth. It's like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
snuck up on me. Yeah. So, okay. Well,
So
Rita
don't worry
can't,
about it. Do the gratitude and just do it.
well, yeah, well, that is the lesson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, and it's why we created the Rampage of Thanksgiving episode for yesterday's episode, because it almost doesn't matter how you go about doing it. Just doing it is
Yeah.
really, really powerful.
Yeah.
It was funny too, because I was editing this thing together, of course, from all the different segments that people taped. You taped one, Rita did, I did, and so on. And it takes time to do all that editing. And when I was done, I'd also recorded my segments on the same day, and I did it early in the morning when Louise was still asleep. So I was doing it kind of quiet. And I'm playing it back later on, and I'm saying, wow, that's really low energy compared to where it normally is. And I said to myself, you know what? Don't worry about it. It is what it is. We got all those gratitudes on there. And look what happens. We get an email from Deborah saying, oh, wow, you nailed it. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
great.
I would say probably your energy. I haven't watched it yet, and I will. But after your energy, you might have been just thinking that because you were speaking soft. Doesn't mean the energy wasn't still there, you know?
Well, I started relatively low energy when I did the introduction. And within like about 3 or 4 minutes, I could feel my energy picking up.
Oh, okay, good.
So it did pick up for most of the episode for sure. But early on, well, yeah, I was also not only low energy, I was talking in a much deeper voice because I was trying to be quieter. So,
All right, so look, I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but I just pulled expect miracles.
oh, okay. That's an interesting illustration. You have card decks that have really nice illustrations, but is this a new deck? Is this one that we haven't
No,
seen
this
before?
is Kyle Gray's Angel Guide.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've been
So we
using
have
this.
seen that one before. Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen this card though. I don't think
No,
we picked expect miracles lately.
no, we haven't. No, and that one is a card that just has a different kind of illustration on it. I mean, it's almost cartoonish in a sense, the way the face is done there. That's why it made me think, wow, we haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Tell us what the
Okay,
card has
let's
to say.
find it. Expect miracles.
Okay.
I love expecting miracles. Let them pop
Oh, they're
up
much
here
more
and
fun.
there.
Yes. Yes.
You know, even the tiniest little miracles, like they all need to be celebrated. Anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't even want to skip over that because I think it's a really important point. It's so easy to skip over them. It's so easy to just ignore them or, just, dismiss them or whatever. And it wasn't until I started paying attention to them and celebrating them that I started to get the bigger changes in life. The smaller
Yeah.
changes would happen, but the bigger changes wouldn't happen until I started celebrating the smaller ones. So I just wanted to mention that.
So I'll give you a little tiny one because it just was so much fun. Yesterday, I had 2 turkeys in my backyard.
Oh, that's cool.
On Thanksgiving, I'm like, oh, hi, guys. Thanks for popping by on Thanksgiving.
They're the two that got away.
Yeah. Okay. So it says, miracles occur naturally. They're always ready to unfold. Your angels are encouraging you to prepare yourself for them now. A miracle doesn't have to be an extravagant change in circumstance. It can be a simple shift of energy that creates a wave of love in your life. How perfect, because we were already talking about this. Mm-hmm. If you need something positive to happen or are praying hard for something, this card brings you the message that something exciting and healing is about to unfold. In order to help this along, you're being guided by your angels to recognize and honor your own worth. Realize that you are absolutely worthy of miracles and they will unfold in your life. Your entire life has been brought together by miracles. They're happening all the time. And the miracle that you need isn't a difficult one because in the hands of the divine, anything is possible. I love that statement. Mm-hmm. So then there's an extended message to this card. And it says, place yourself in a golden light. You can do that right now. Just imagine you're in this golden light. And remember that the light of God is within you, right there in the heart of your being, in your soul. Good things can happen for you. But in order to manifest something wonderful in your life, you have to believe that it is possible. You could be seeing the miracle you need as impossible or even too big for you to achieve. Ultimately, this is exactly what is blocking it from happening. So change it right now. Your angel guide is inviting you to open your mind and your heart to see what you need, to see what you need being delivered to you. Okay, so that's everything we always talk about. Mm-hmm. Feel gratitude for all of your blessings, and you will allow the miracles you deserve to unfold. So there you go. More about gratitude.
Definitely more about gratitude. And I appreciate the part that talked in the early paragraph, the first paragraph of that, about the connection between expecting miracles and essentially believing in yourself.
And your
Because
worth.
in your worth, that, yeah, right. Is that
Yeah,
the word that they use? Your
that's what the
worth?
word they use. Yeah, believing in
Yeah.
your worth.
You have to believe that you have value, that you are worthwhile, that you
Yeah,
are an
that you are
important person.
deserving of exactly what you're
Deserving. Yeah,
asking
that's the
for.
word.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. We don't normally associate that with a miracle, but that is a key component. Without it,
Yeah.
expecting the miracle, first of all, becomes impossible. And second of all, the miracles kind of start diminishing, at least in your consciousness.
Just being here and being born is a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like we have to look very hard, is it?
No, I don't look very hard.
Well,
Yeah.
I bring that up just because I remember when I first got exposed to the idea, I thought to myself, okay, so where would I go find a miracle? Because I wasn't in a mindset that said, well, all of life is
I'm a
full of
miracle.
miracles.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's where the shift takes place, is recognizing that if I think about it differently, if I feel about it differently, I'll see the miracles, I'll experience them, and I'll notice that they're all there. And when you start noticing it, that's when it gets pretty cool, because then you realize this whole life is really just chock full of miracles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no
I
limit to
mean,
them.
our intuition is a miracle. And so the more we understand that and realize it and start using it and listening to it, you realize how the miracles get even bigger and bigger, because now you're connecting to the energy consciously that creates
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good point. That's a good point. So, okay, well, we've tied miracles in with gratitude. I like the combination. You get express some gratitude, get some miracles. I mean, that I could see how that could become addicting pretty quickly if you aren't used to doing that.
All right.
Just because.
So
So,
let's pick another card. And I have no idea what's going to come out of it. I haven't used this deck in a while. This is
who's next?
Divine Energy Oracle, Sonia Choquette.
Sonia Choquette. Okay.
Yeah. So, what will it be? Dun, 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 dun. Let's see.
Build up the suspense.
Wait, one more shuffle. Hold on. Doesn't feel right yet. Here we go. That feels good. All right. Let's see. Accept what is dying.
Ooh. Okay.
All right.
Let's see what
42.
that has to say.
Well, probably something about making room for the new things that you want to have in your life. Let's see. 89. Yeah. Let's see what she says. Oh, there we go. Open to it. All right. So an aspect of your life is clearly coming to an end. See, that's what all 2020 has been all about, right? Like really coming to your own truth and what it is. Well, on the worldwide level, sure, but even in just individually. Some area has lost your interest and you can no longer muster up the enthusiasm to carry on. It's time to surrender and let things go. Let things end with grace. See, that's happening for a lot of people. They're realizing, I don't even want it. What am I been doing with my life? This is not what I want. Mm-hmm. Your divine energy is calling you to accept the natural cycles of life and death and directly admit what's presently ending in your life. Let go of sentimentality and be honest and frank in your assessment of things. Yeah, sometimes people want to hold on to something just too long, right? And that's more of a sentimental thing. They just can't let it go. Mm-hmm. Says, don't waste time tending to a garden that simply will not grow. It's time for a big change. Face the unknown with courage and confidence. Exciting and more beautiful things await you. Your divine invitation is to understand that in every termination, you're crossing the threshold of rebirth into another level. Rather than proceeding or denying what is, cease to bring your life to spirit, accept that inevitable truth that the cycle for this connection has ended, and consciously, allow it to die naturally. Yeah, so it's like things are meant to fall away. Mm-hmm. And when we can stay more in that flow and just let them fall naturally, we easily move into this shinier thing, you want to call it, or this better thing to come in. that you may not have even knew that you had already set in motion, right?
Oh, true. Yeah.
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 Don't run from your emotions or deny your sorrow or fear. It's time to resign yourself to divine will and fully trust the normal rhythms of life and death. Remember, all that passes on is only in a state of becoming something new. Yeah.
Okay. That reminded me, the first part especially reminded me of something I guess I think Louise told me about this, something she saw on Facebook, I imagine. Somebody had posted that they were going to stay up on New Year's Eve to watch the change over to the new year. And the reason given was they wanted to make sure that the old year really left and really died off. Because they want 2020 to go away as fast as possible, which is a funny joke, but it's also kind of a reminder like, well, that person isn't really paying a whole lot of attention to 2021, are they? They're not really looking forward. They're not anticipating, the miracle of the new thing. They're not dreading the passing of 2020. They're determined to see it out the door, and then just that's kind of the end of it as far as they're concerned. But that's not really where it all ends. One person's ending is the next person's beginning. So
right. But I think it's probably a whole lot better to just want to be done with something, because even just being done with that, now you are open to all this, even if you haven't been able to put your focus and attention on
rather than hanging on to it, you mean?
Rather than hanging on to it and letting it perpetuate and just blocking the next thing that wants to come through,
And I think there's a whole lot of value we got out of 2020. I mean, many people won't see it perhaps for years, maybe even decades, but there's a whole lot that we got out of it. And one day everyone will look back and will say, wow, that was like one of the best years we ever had. I don't want to live it again, but it was one of the best years we ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. In just about every area of your life.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay. Let's take this card. Oh. Can you read it?
What does it say? Oh, new beginnings. There we go.
New beginnings. Oh.
That's appropriate. Right after a card about accepting what is dying.
Yep. See, that's why you just have to, there's this Natural Awakening magazine. I have ads in there, and they like you to submit articles. But for some reason, they're more on the science side. So most of the things I write, I have to modify them so it's not so out there for people, right?
Right.
So this time I thought, you know what, let me just do an oracle reading, and I'll just do the energies for the month rather than try to write something that I can't scientifically prove, right?
Okay, sure.
So I do that, and they come back with, but what does that mean? Like, what is that? And I'm like, oh my God, this is Natural Awakenings magazine. There's like a lot of, healers and psychics and things putting ads in there. And like, it just didn't click. I'm like, okay. So I had to explain the whole thing about oracle cards. So I should just tell the guy to watch this show, because where the heck does new beginnings come from? Like out of the blue, right? It's because we're connected. We're always connected. And when we open ourselves up to allow what wants to come through, it can. It's like, I don't have any intention as to what the card has to say, right? I just let it flow. And so as we let it flow, it comes in how it wants to. And that's why they always tie together.
And amazingly, they all tie together really tightly. That's the part that it doesn't blow my mind anymore. I've come to expect it. But even in my expectations, like, wow, that's really, really darn cool. We just had a card about accept what is dying, and now we get new beginnings. I mean, just perfect segue. Absolutely perfect segue.
Yeah. Oh. Well, and the first one was expect miracles.
And that's right.
That's a little miracle right there. Like, how does that happen? Right? Okay, so let's see what new beginning says. It says, for something to begin, something must end. It's a law of balance. How we accept the conclusion of any situation is solely reliant upon who we are at that moment. Go with the flow or kicking and screaming. The choice is yours, and it's yours alone. But before you choose, decide what is less harmful to your vibration. Yeah. So,
I think
choosing to hold on.
That's one time I think I'd modify it. Instead of paying attention to what's more harmful, I would look at choosing what is more helpful. I would just like flipping it around. What helps me more? I mean, I understand what she's saying there, but I would just rewrite that one. But still, that's good. That's really good, because that's what we were just saying.
Let me make sure I read it right. Tell me if this is what you just said. Before you choose, decide what is less harmful to your vibration.
That's what you said.
Is that what I said? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of,
Yes.
and for me, it's not choosing what's less harmful. To me, it's choosing what's most beneficial.
Yeah. But
I
if you
flip it
think
around to
of
the side.
what's less harmful is what's more uplifting, what makes you feel better. The less harmful thing is always going to make you feel better. So it's like a backwards way of saying it to what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
like an inverse way of saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
guess
that
I
was
just
cool.
like I guess I just like focusing on expressing it as in the affirmative because I've learned the power and the effectiveness of stating with the higher degree of clarity that the affirmative statement gives than the negative statement gives. I mean, people talk about this all the time. You know, they keep talking about I don't know. Um, I want my ex spouse who I don't like anymore to stay away. I'm really focusing on her staying away. She's got to stay away. You know, and then she doesn't stay away. It's like, well, the vibration of it. You're focusing on the thing that you don't want. What do you want? Don't tell me
Right.
what you don't want. You don't want her around. What do you want? Well,
Right.
okay, I guess I want to have a spouse-free life. No, 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 no. That's still what you're still focused over there. What do you want? What do you like? What feels good to you? Well, enjoying my life. Ah, now we're on a better track there. Now we're on
Right.
a more positive
Right.
vibration, one
Right.
that we
Right.
like better. Yeah. I so once I learned that, I decided I'm whenever I hear something that somebody expresses or that I express even more, that's expressed in the negative, I want to stop and flip it around in my mind just so I can get more power out of it.
Yeah. I get it.
That's just me. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
has to do it except
Yeah.
me. But
I don't
yeah.
think she meant less harmful as a negative thing. It's like, maybe some people don't know how to make a choice out of three things.
Well, I didn't mean it to be a negative. I just meant something that wasn't wanted as much.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's part of the journey, right? When we're learning, people are learning how to focus on what they do want. And
Absolutely.
actually, the proof is in the pudding, however that expression goes. Because if you look at people who are always focusing on what's going wrong and what's negative, it's always going wrong and negative because that's all they're
Mm-hmm.
focused on. So that's all that they get. Unless some divine intervention comes in and that happens where something just comes into your life and can snap you out of that and pull you in this better place.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I think
Yep.
a lot of times that's like when that happens a lot of times when people give their power away, thinking that this one has to come and like save them
Yeah,
or, you know,
that's true.
but
That's true.
but when it just comes out of the thin blue air, like these cards come out, it's like, okay, there's a divine intervention there. Something's changing.
Well, I mean, you've shown me and trained me into understanding that we want to become aware of that stuff that comes out of the clear blue sky,
Yeah,
because that's where all of the messaging comes from.
that's the
And
expect miracles right there.
yeah, yeah, and that takes, especially if you come from the place where I came from, which was a very logical and scientific and all that kind of approach. You know, the idea that something could just come out of the blue to you and actually be meaningful and useful was ludicrous. I mean, that was like expecting a monkey to be able to type the Bible from the way I was thinking previously. Now I
Yeah.
almost expect the monkey to be able to type the Bible, but before that was just not even the realm of possibility, you know? But
Well,
for the same reason, the idea that extraneous stuff coming in out of the blue with no apparent connection to anything that could actually mean something, that was craziness from where I was sitting before. But what you've helped me do over time is to realize not only is it not crazy, it's actually where the best information is, and that's really something.
yeah. I,
I'm still kind of mind blown on that.
I think a fun way, because I don't know, it's coming to me, so I guess I should say something. A fun way of people getting maybe into that is with the numbers. Okay, because people do
Hmm.
notice repetitive numbers.
Oh,
And when
people
they
love it.
start actually giving their attention to it, but they've never understood it before. And upset, what popped in my mind was my mom, especially after my sister passed. And maybe she heard a conversation I was having with like my nieces and nephews about repetitive numbers. And she's like, but
Hmm.
I've been seeing 1111 all the time. I'm like, oh, you have? And so I would tell her like what that means and that kind of thing. She's, oh, she's not thinking that there's anything more to it than she just happened to see it, right? So as I start letting her know about these things, she starts getting more and more numbers and getting them in weird ways. It had to be that
Mm.
way for her because it's like, well, how could you plan that, Mom? What do you think? I'll tell you what that means. And then give her the number. So now she's so open to it. This is someone who would never be open to something like this.
That's cool. That's really
But
cool.
now it invited these possibilities. So like when weird things happen in the house and things move, I'm like, that's your daughter. She's just letting you know she's with you. And in fact, the other day we were talking about something and she goes, I keep feeling this tingling on my arm right here right now. I'm like, well, maybe that's Joanne just tapping you and letting you know she's here with you. She's like, oh, you think so? You think that's like, she still has this little bit of doubt, but it's
Well, I think
opened
we
up.
all do. I mean, let's
But
be
it's,
honest. I think we all bring in certain degree of doubt to this, and over time we're learning to let go of it. I think it's fabulous that she's let go of as much as she has. I mean, that's the really cool
yeah,
part.
right. And really, but the reason for all that is it was the numbers that got her going. And that's just a
Mm,
simple way. So for anyone who might be new to this and not really understanding about how you can get signs and symbols and all that kind of thing, when something does take your attention in a weird way, like why do I keep seeing that same number? Why do I keep waking up the same exact time every night? Or, oh, that's weird. I've never had a black bear in my backyard before. Look up the symbolism of animals and the symbolism in numbers, and you'll start to realize that there are no coincidences and that spirit is sending you messages in all kinds of ways. And you'll know it when it seems kind of like when you say, oh, how could that be? That's a coincidence. No.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
that's
things
true.
that take your attention and make you do a double take, there's a message there.
Cindy Chavez and I had a conversation about this topic in general a month or two ago, and she brought something up that hadn't really occurred to me, but and she told it in terms of a story that happened in her own life. That was kind of how she learned about this. But she pointed out that we can get a sign, and once we're into getting signs, and we can get a sign, and we like the sign, and then we can just kind of hang on to the sign to our detriment, even. So, for instance, in her own life, in her first marriage started out well and then ended badly as her ex-spouse used to verbally abuse her and all kinds of stuff like that. But she kept hanging on to a sign that she got early on that said this was going to be a great relationship. And she kept using that sign, that old sign, as a way of justifying, well, I can't give up on him. Even if he is being verbally abusive, even if I don't have good boundaries, I had that sign way, way back. We hang on to signs too long. We forget that it's the
Oh,
current
oh,
sign
oh,
that
oh, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
matters.
Because then they don't see the other signs that are telling them how to better interpret that first sign that you got.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it could be also who knows? I mean, I don't know about in that case, but sometimes
Well,
I've had that. I've had someone say, yeah, but I keep getting this sign, and it was really something that was not for their highest good. And I can tap in and feel, no, this is not for your highest good. But they
mhm.
kept clinging to or interpreting signs a certain way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, so then it would be like, well, what if it could be looked at this way? Or, what if you were just open to ask questions? Please help me understand how I'm interpreting this sign and then see what comes to you. And you'll be surprised how you can get clarity on something because some people do have a fixed idea of what it means, but if it isn't taking you further and it's making you feel heavier, you probably did not get the message correctly.
One
So
of the
ask
ways
for
that we,
another one. Ask for a better one. Give me one that give me another sign.
yeah, yeah,
Give
we
me
can
another
always
one.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you'll
One of the
get
ways that one of the ways we illustrate what happens here is we thought about it in terms of a trip, like you're driving on the highway, right? Like you're going from, I don't know, New York to Washington or something like that. And you get about 200 miles from Washington, and there's a sign that says Washington 200 miles. And so you drive and drive and drive and drive. And then all of a sudden you pass an exit that says Washington, hang a right. And you said, wait a minute, I saw a sign that said 200 miles. Well, that was 200 miles ago. How about looking at the current sign? The current sign
right,
said exit 1 mile, you know?
right. That's a great example of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you have to pay attention to the current signs. The current signs are the ones that are telling you the information. There's only now, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Now we might be taken in another direction.
Forgiveness. Okay.
We're getting forgiveness. So let's see what it says. Okay. So it says, drawing this marker says that you must now search your heart for any unresolved resentment, anger, or disagreements between you and another. If you're still hurt or angry about another's behavior, or if there are circumstances in your life that you resent, this is a time when it's crucial to release the negative energy surrounding those situations. Now, I'll finish reading it. But I chose this when you were talking about Cindy going through, I guess, a divorce or something like that, right?
Right.
So I don't know if this is speaking to anyone who might have a situation like that in their life or what. I don't even know.
Could
But
be.
it's funny that came up while we were talking about that. So it says, resisting this will only impede your growth and draw more unwanted experiences to you. Resentment and anger are emotions that actually bind you and hook you to the events that are causing you suffering, keeping them alive inside you, draining you of your life force and inner light. So that's like holding on to a message that is that you think is detrimental, because now you're holding that energy to that thing. Kind of like what we were just talking about,
Yeah.
Even if the message wasn't that, but this is how you're interpreting it, and this is the energy that you're holding. So it says, nothing good comes from hate, anger, or resentment. Peace can only come through forgiveness. When you release all that binds you to your negativity, perhaps you need to forgive yourself for placing unrealistic expectations on your situation, resulting in self-sabotage, in a self-sabotaging perception tainted by perfectionism. Wow, there's a lot said in that sentence.
Yeah, no
Okay.
kidding.
Look at the world and see how the lack of forgiveness feeds the turmoil and the suffering around you. Forgiveness is key to freedom and peace, and it starts with you. This marker requires that you practice forgiveness so that you can be an active part of spreading peace and beauty throughout this troubled world. Now, just what popped in at the end there was, so, and again, it's for people who might be new to the show, right? So if you're listening to everything that Walt and I are saying, and you're like, oh, I've never done that. Oh, I should have done that. Or I should, you're like now beating up on yourself because you didn't know the things that we're letting you know about how powerful you are. How you can create your own life. You could then be like really throwing a lot of crap on yourself for not having known, right? So that would be like self-forgiveness, for really forgiving, wiping the slate clean. Wow, I get to learn something new now, because everybody learns things at different times. I mean, I wish I knew the things I knew now when I was like a teenager and going through my, my earlier life, but I didn't know it then. You
don't know it until you know it.
And so what I'm like, I guess I wasn't supposed to know it then. I'm okay with that. I know it now, so that's all that matters.
This is true. This is very true.
Yeah.
The other thought that comes to my mind where forgiveness is concerned is we usually think about forgiveness in terms of forgiving somebody else. But the thing that card was emphasizing was we also have to remember to forgive ourselves. I mean, because we're harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else. As hard as we might be on somebody else, we're 10 times harder on ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to let go of, because until we can let go of being hard on ourselves, we're not going to let go of being hard on somebody else. We're basically following the same rule with somebody else that we're following with ourselves. So what happens if we change that? What happens if we shift around to forgiving ourselves? Well, then it becomes really easy to forgive somebody else.
Yeah. And that energy does block you, because then there are people who say, why did I spend the last 30 years doing this job that I hate when I could be doing this? Like, because this is 2020, right? We're all like opening up to looking more within ourselves to see what it is we really truly want. What is our truth? Like, it's all about truth, right? All the truth coming up in all different ways. So yeah. Just let it go.
Let it go, right?
Let it go. Like you just said it, like what, a couple of minutes ago. And it's Eckhart Tolle, right? The power is now.
That's right. Yeah. Power of now.
Now is the power. Now is where everything's created, and the next now, and the next now, and the next now.
In fact, it's the only place where there's creation. There's no creation in yesterday or tomorrow. There's only creation in now.
Right, and that's why when you hold on to those stories, it just puts the brakes on it all. Old stories. That's yesterday's story.
Yeah, what we're basically doing is taking that old story from the past and bringing it into the now.
Yeah.
Which
Continually.
is about the last thing, which is the last thing we really want to do.
It's like a nightmare loop.
Right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep focusing on this thing that I really don't like because it was in my past, but I really don't like it. But I'm going to focus on it anyway, but I really don't like it.
Because you just want to beat up on yourself, and you need to forgive yourself. We don't need to beat up on ourselves, right? We don't need to. What does it do for you? nothing but make you feel
Not a
bad and
thing.
keep your vibration so low that it's hard. They only can create things that are of that same vibration.
I can think of one thing that it does. One thing that it does. It makes you really, really grateful when you finally realize what you're doing and you stop. And then you can have
Right.
this huge acceleration that can come out of it.
Right. And that's perfect, because that's something I wanted to kind of touch on before, is that there's nothing been wasted. There's no wasted time.
Hmm.
It's all experience is experience that just aids to more of you and of what
Yep.
lessons that you learn. I hate to say it as lessons, but just things you've observed and realized. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, no,
lesson almost sounds like it was imposed from outside.
yeah.
I
I
think
don't
that's
like
why I
that
don't like
word
the word.
lesson. You
Yeah.
have to learn it like it's a punishment or something. No,
Right.
it's just like an experience. Like it's just another experience.
I think I would feel better saying something I learned rather than a lesson.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
something else.
they're in the
A
same ballpark, but
how
they're
many realizations did it bring for you
realization. Yeah,
that can
that's
move
good.
you forward? That feels better. You can feel the
Yeah.
difference in the words, right?
Oh yeah. Very,
Yeah.
very definitely. In fact, that's something to pay attention to. How are we using our words? How do we feel about them? Every once in a while, I'll see a post on Facebook, somebody saying, "Is it okay to say something this way or to say it that way?" And my response is always, "How does it feel to you?
Yeah.
If it feels good, go for it. If it doesn't feel good, change it."
Right. So just now you just reminded me what I wanted to say a few minutes ago. Normally I write
Okay.
notes. I didn't do it this time. Because the main message that always comes to me, and I say it over and over again, but I live by it, is there's no right way. Find your own way and
Mm,
keep it simple. So there's
yes.
no right way. I see people say, no, if I ask for it this way, as if a couple of words make a difference to the outcome. It's all about the energy you hold as you say it, right? So if
Right.
you're so critical of how you're asking, that energy doesn't feel good.
Nope.
What if you ask it, whatever it is, and you're like, "Ooh, that didn't sound too cool. How can it sound better? Oh, okay, let me do it this way. This feels good." Then it's just lifting the energy, right?
It's true. And in fact, I think the big benefit to doing it that way is it gives us the opportunity to let go of our old focus on, well, that doesn't feel all that good. I keep focusing on this thing that doesn't feel all that good. And I'm not sure how to get out of it. Does that feel good? Maybe I should change the wording around. And we lose sight of, I guess what I'm saying is we lose sight of the energy. We lose sight of what the energy is feeling like. Because we're
Yeah.
so, I mean, words are important. Words have power. We were just making that point a moment ago. And it's true. But the reason words have power is because of the energy that we associate them behind the words. It's the energy that makes them important. It's not the physical word itself, HELP, help. It's not help, the word itself, that makes a difference. It's the energy we put with it. It's the meaning that we put with it, the emotion that we put with it. That's where all the power comes from. And that's why words are important, because we do
Yeah.
have certain associations with different words, and we can have I can have different associations with a particular word from what you have, and from
Yeah.
what everybody else has. We can all have different associations.
Yeah. You know what? I hate this. I hate this thought this thing that's coming to me. But I mean, so say if you're like a serial killer.
Okay.
So to be like, oh, I'm gonna kill that guy. I'm gonna kill that guy. Like that's no, he's so excited about killing that guy.
Mm.
Look at
Hmm.
that energy, right? So those are
Yeah.
words which I would interpret probably anything that person would say about their desire and their excitement and their enthusiasm about killing somebody. I would totally see it different. You know what I mean? Because to me,
I would hope so. Yes.
no, but my point is same words,
Yeah.
different vibration.
Yeah.
So even though most of us would think that's a really low vibration and low, like
Pretty horrible.
bad,
Yeah.
yeah, to someone else, as they're saying it, their vibe is high.
That's a tough concept, but it's true. And the sooner we come to grips with that, the better, because we begin to really appreciate just how powerful the associations are rather than the words themselves. And
Yeah.
knowing what those associations are, that's where we start to really latch onto our real power. That's where we
And,
truly begin to
and
understand.
ultimately, the feeling of the vibration you're attaching to those words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling is everything when it comes to the power of the thought.
Yeah.
The thought
All right.
creates, the feeling drives it into a larger realm.
So I've got one more card. This is from
Okay.
the Enchanted Map, right? Let's see
Okay.
where we're going. But what I got was protecting treasure.
Protecting treasure. All right. Make a note of that.
Okay, so it's a woman on top of a treasure chest. There's a golden crown there. There's an
I
umbrella
like
over
that.
the top.
Yeah, that's
All
an
right.
interesting illustration.
Yeah, so it is raining, I think. I don't know how clearly that's coming up.
Well, half of it's raining. Yeah.
Yeah, where the umbrella, and then there's a rainbow, right?
Right.
Almost a rainbow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting card. Okay.
All right, so
So
let's see what
protecting
that's all
treasure.
about.
Yeah, that's a different
Oops, I
concept.
almost opened to it. I was one card away. I like when I open right to the card.
Yep.
All right, so it says, and I'm pretty sure I picked it up in the upright. I would have paid attention. So it says you are always protected and divinely directed. So although this is a time of great risk, know that at a fundamental level, you are able to move forward safely and securely. The proverbial nest egg is safe and sound no matter the fluctuations in the world. Guardian angels and other guides are whispering to you, making you aware of their protective presence. Your loyalty is an important theme now. Nurture that which you hold dear. This is a good time to strengthen bonds of friends and ensure their integrity. If you feel tested right now, know that a true and loyal heart always achieves its aim. Ooh. Take refuge under an angel's wing. You are not alone and you have no need to fear. Embrace your courage. I like
That's
that.
an interesting card.
I like that. Know that a true and loyal heart always achieves its aim. Right? So when you know your truth and you're coming from your heart, you're going to get there.
Mm-hmm. That card speaks on a couple levels. And I think on like the large picture level, it speaks to somebody who perhaps is guarding their treasure in a way of fearfulness. And the card is almost saying to them, it's okay to guard your treasure, just don't fear for it.
Yeah.
Your treasure is perfectly safe.
Yeah. And yeah, it says the proverbial nest egg is safe and sound no matter the fluctuations in the world. Oh, that's really powerful because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, right?
There is.
And it could
right.
really make you feel not like you're not secure, like you don't, you know. So when the truth is, we are always. That's a hard statement to state, but I know that when I can connect to that energy, I know that I'm always safe and secure, and that everything works out for me.
Yes. Yeah, I can.
But
I can agree
you
with that.
can
for
be
sure.
pulled out of that energy.
Mm-hmm.
But what's important is that you return back to the here and now. Okay. So all this stuff could happen, but what's happening right here and now? I'm talking to Walt and having a good time on this show.
You're reminding me when I took my walk today. I didn't see a whole lot of people out, but I saw a few. And at one point, I passed 3 women who were chatting among themselves and kind of strolling along. And I was walking along a good clip, so I was able to pass them pretty quickly. And as I heard them talking among themselves, I realized they were talking about COVID and all of the scientific trials that are going on, and they're creating vaccines and they're trying to figure out how antibodies work and so forth. And I realized what they were doing was they were driving themselves and each other's nuts over all the different possible things that could be going wrong with COVID. I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I got to get away from here as fast as possible. Second thing I was thinking was, wow, if they only understood what they were doing in there now by focusing on all this stuff that was just creating all this worry. Yep. This card was almost directed at them, basically saying, your treasure's fine, relax, you're okay.
Yep.
Calm down. Yeah.
And I guess it depends on who you listen to, but I'm not at all worried about COVID one bit.
I'm not either, actually.
It's another flu.
I don't even think of it as a disease. I think of it as something that's away from my life. It's just not a part of
it's like
who I am.
Yeah. I even have an 80-something-year-old aunt who got it, and she's immune compromised, has a compromise because she gets bronchitis very easily. Mm-hmm. And she recovered like this.
Mm-hmm. Good.
It's like the medications are there. You can choose. Hopefully, you'll have a choice. You can choose to have a vaccine or not have a vaccine.
Yep.
And I think you should choose to wear a mask or not choose to wear a mask. And it shouldn't matter because there's a lot of research on that too, right? On how much that actually,
There is.
like, how come your eyes are open and like no little particles can get in your eyes and in your system? I mean,
Well,
it's like,
it shows how important the vibration is. If your vibration's high, nothing's going to go through anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess
So like,
the way I look at it with the mask is I mainly wear the mask not so much for myself, but for other people because I want them to feel relaxed around me. So I
yeah,
do it for their benefit. I don't really when I put on a mask going into a store, I don't think about it for me at all. I think about well, maybe it'll help them feel higher vibes, so I'm willing to do that.
yeah. I only do it because the store owner needs to have it be done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good
That's
reason
the way
too.
I do it. Like,
Hmm.
their business could be in jeopardy if people are walking around and they get
Sure.
shut down. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
why I do it. I do it for the shop owner,
Well,
the store owner. Yeah.
you're doing it for somebody else too. Just you're
Yeah. Yeah.
oriented
Yeah.
toward a
Yeah.
different
I don't
person,
need it.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I have when I do my in-person sessions, and I'm back to doing those, not one person needs me to have doesn't work. We're not wearing masks. We're just not doing it.
I experienced the same thing with the gardening business. First of all, with our own team of gardeners, and second with clients. I would always ask, I've forgotten to wear a mask as I was coming up to greet them. I said, "Oh, do you want me to go get a mask?" "Oh, no, that's okay, no worries."
Yeah.
Nobody that I've been talking to is worried about it. Now, I kind of associate that with me only attracting people into my life who are in the same vibe that I'm in. And that's
Yep.
probably what's really going on.
Yeah.
But I thought it
Yeah.
was kind of interesting. Here we live in this era of people being terrified, and yet the people I'm doing business with, they're not terrified. It's pretty wild.
Well, you know what it is? A lot. I think most of the people aren't terrified, but there are those that are, and so we want to try and help those people to
It could
whatever,
be.
as much as we can. But
Yeah.
it made me laugh because I sent you that little video I saw. Like the guy
Yeah.
forgets his. That was so funny. Like these people, so for the people out there, there's this video out there. I don't know what it's called. It's something about forgetting your mask, and there's a couple of people in the store that forgot their mask, and they're using like their underwear, their
Pieces of
bra,
underwear. It's crazy.
anything they could find to like wrap their face so they can go and get their shopping done.
Ugh.
So funny. That
My,
was
my
so
response was better him than me. I don't want to put my underwear on that way. No.
yeah. That was
Hey,
funny.
we have about 9 minutes left, 8 minutes left, but I want to make sure I get my promo message in. So let me do that now before I forget, which is very simple. It's the one that we always do, and that is use the LOA Today app for a number of things. First of all, you can listen to the episodes. And yes, I am very close to fixing the issue where the app freezes up in the middle of playing an episode. We're almost there. But also use the app to send in questions, because there's that question form under the goodies section. You can send a question to Linda or to Rita, myself, or to Louis or Amy or Cindy or David or anybody who's a co-host on the show. And then when that person is on the show, I'll make sure that they get asked the question, so it'll be asked and answered on that show. And those who are doing that are getting some really cool in-depth responses that they're really appreciating. So take advantage of doing that. I know at one point we kind of discouraged it because we're getting so many for Rita. Like in
Yeah.
August, September, it was getting a little bit hot and heavy. But even Rita's list has gotten kind of light. So you feel free to send stuff in for Rita. But use the form to send in the questions, or even just to send in a comment like Deborah did, commenting on yesterday's video. Because, hey, we like hearing from everybody. Well,
But
I
you know
mean,
what, too?
and you give us something fun to talk about, it's even better. I'm
That's
just
right.
saying.
Because sometimes it can just introduce a topic that would be a great thing to talk about. Because if you're asking the question, a lot of other people have the same question.
Yeah, that's a point you've brought up numerous times, and I really appreciate that. How uh, we bring up a card, or we bring up a topic, or we're addressing something, and we're answering a question for one person, and that yet there are 20 other people who need to have the same question answered or the same
Absolutely.
topic addressed.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or it would not have come up.
mm, that's a
So
good
that
point.
forgiveness card today was really good, and definitely for self-forgiveness, especially with maybe not knowing how to apply all the things we talk about here or whatever. But maybe it was also for some other people who just really need to forgive another person for something. I mean, that message could have gone a lot deeper for who knows how
That's
many
true.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of different levels to forgiveness, isn't there? There's a lot of different, there's forgiving ourselves, there's forgiving others, and there's forgiving ourselves while we're forgiving others. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at this thing and to understand it. So, yeah, I could see that. Sometimes we hang on to things, we hang on to anger that we feel towards somebody else. We hang on to it for too long, and it starts to create manifestations in our own lives. And that's one of the things that I always try to remind myself. If I'm trying to help somebody on Facebook or whatever, and they're describing something going on in their lives, I say to myself, well, now that I know what they got going in their lives, I know where they've been focusing their attention. It gives me a pretty clear signal because, one A leads to B. What you focus on is what you tend to get.
Yeah.
So if I hear somebody who's focusing on somebody that they're angry at, I'm asking myself, how long have they been doing that? How long has that been something they've been hanging on to?
Right.
And usually there's an answer in their post because they're pretty worked up about it. That's why they're posting about it. So clearly they've been working on it for quite some time.
And how much have they altered the original occurrence? Because
Oh,
when people
yeah.
get in that lower energy, they start making the story bigger than it actually was, and they start
Embroidering.
actually pulling stuff up out of that old memory bank of the reactive mind and stuffing
Right.
that stuff in there too, right? Making this picture. That's why it's true. There's always two sides to every story because it's interpretation, number one.
Mhm.
And when people go in those lower vibrations, they tend to, I know, because I've done it.
I think we all have.
Yeah, I can like look back on specific times where I'm like, oh my God, I totally built that into so much more than it actually was. Like, what a fool. And I allowed what a fool. Oh,
Right.
It's okay, Linda.
There you go.
But really, where I could see how I perpetuated, and so did the other people involved,
Sure.
this thing that didn't have to be a thing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
And that comes from ego.
So
I mean,
easy
that's
to
all.
do.
Yeah, that's all like ego stuff. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we got only a couple minutes left, so we can't really go into this in depth, but it's something I've been thinking about bringing up before. In law of attraction circles, conscious creation circles, and so on, people helping each other out, you doing energy work, coaching, all that kind of stuff. Often we end up talking about the role of the ego versus the inner self and so forth. And we almost treat it like the ego is something we want to kind of hide away or get rid of. And I want to maybe spend an episode or something talking about why that isn't necessarily true. I mean, the ego
Yeah.
is part of why we're here. We're here
Let's
to
do it.
experience that
The ego helps us to know who we are.
Yeah.
There's good aspects to it. You got to just see when it's in a detrimental aspect of the ego that
Because there's
you're
good and bad
clinging
in
to.
everything.
Yeah. That'll be a good show to do with Rita because I'm sure she'll have tons to say on that.
That's true.
And
Okay. Well, then
I'll
let's save that for next week then.
Yeah, I'll share a good story of mine when my ego got the shit kicked out of it.
Yeah, I think we could all come up with a story like that one.
No, I mean, really, where I felt in a healing session that somebody was giving to me, I'm telling you, my body felt like bruised almost for a couple of days afterwards when I had this realization of where I was coming from that I couldn't see for myself. I physically felt it was like I got hit over the head.
That's what my wife Louise calls a 2x4 moment.
Yeah, but I actually felt my whole body shift from it and had to go through like some kind of a detox for a couple of days.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they can be pretty impactful, to say the least. They can really make an impact on us, on our psyches and on our energies and everything else. And the reason that these 2x4 moments come along is we ignore them. We keep saying, oh, no, nothing there. No. And then it keeps getting bigger and bigger until it turns into a 2x4.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't remember the circumstance, but my coach said to me, Linda, who's talking to me right now? Your ego or your soul? And I was like, what? And it made me look at it. And I'm like, holy shit, it's my ego. And that realization of seeing something that seemed like an regular conversation, but I was clinging to a resistance, I guess. I was clinging to this resistance thing and probably justifying, or I don't know what I was doing. I don't remember the details. But when she asked me that question, oh my God, it's like, boom, saw it. Totally changed it.
Well, then I think we have a topic for next week. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So in the meantime, anyway, this has been a good show, and thank you for being our card drawer today. We haven't drawn cards in a while, so I was glad we got a chance to do that. That was really good.
Yeah. It's always fun.
Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. So thank you very much. Thank you. I saw people tuning in the live stream, keeping kind of quiet, although I saw Nasha say hello. But glad everybody was there, and especially thank you to all of our podcast listeners as well. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.